Eagles Club International is a network of like-minded investors who refuse to be ordinary. And Eagles Club, as the word comes from the eagle, is a club of like-minded people who believes in the power of network. And somebody said that your network determines your net worth. Show me the people you work with, show me the people you spend your time with, and I'll tell you who you are. Because you are always the average of the people that work with you on a daily basis. Therefore, we bring people together in Eagles Club to improve your average. And we tell you, if you want to be an eagle, walk like an eagle. You have appreciated that an eagle is a very unique bird. Number one, it is very, very visionary. It is able to identify its prey 5 kilometers away. It is able to see what others cannot see. And it is able to target it with precision, and it knows no obstacles. Number two, an eagle doesn't care about the storms. In fact, when the storms come, an eagle is able to go above the storms, while all the other birds are able to run away to the nest to hide because of the storms, while the eagle is able to embrace the storms and appreciate what it can do in the storms. Therefore, Eagles Club brings people together through a network called the Thai Eagles Group, and we are saying, or we tell people that we want to show you how to be an investor and to invest like an eagle. And that's why we have been saying through the FAIR program that if you want to be rich, always endeavor to do what the rich do and avoid doing what the poor do. We have always been saying that the difference between ordinary people and the extraordinary people is the extra. How do you endeavor to go an extra mile, to engage an extraordinary gear, to do things in a different way? We have said time and again that the language of money does not care how old you are. It doesn't care how many academic papers you have. Neither does it care who your father was. The language of money respects those who understand and obey the principle of money multiplication. And that's why we have been saying that the rich men who behave like eagles understand multiplication. Number two, they behave like eagles. They see very far, and that's why they create generational wealth. And that's why they don't understand the language of becoming poor when they retire or their children coming to struggle like them. They create generational solution, wealth that even their children will never finish, as the Bible talks about Proverbs 13:22. A wise man shall leave an inheritance for his children and his children's children, even to the fourth generation. Therefore, Eagles Club is welcoming to tell you, please get out of the ordinary box. As people have said, the rich invest. The ordinary people are very busy spending their money on purchasing liabilities. The poor are very busy buying stuff that never add value to their life. And that's why the ordinary people really look forward with a lot of pity when they imagine what will happen when they retire. And even they have no plan for their children. And that's why, to just emphasize what we are looking for, telling you, please be an investor, be an eagle. I want to welcome you to watch this clip and understand the difference between investing and spending on liabilities. Especially professionals, I welcome you to watch and understand why, with all the education we have, our work is to serve the masters who are wise investors, and you can escape that by being a wise investor. And I pray that you may watch this clip, because the Bible says that a wise man, a good man, a man of good understanding shall leave an inheritance through generations. Watch this with understanding, and you shall make a difference.
Hi, my name's PJ, and welcome to our short presentation. Have you ever wondered how the rich keep getting richer while broke people stay broke and the middle class seems to be shrinking? Well, this isn't nearly as mysterious as it may appear when you examine the specific differences in how broke people, the middle class, and the rich spend their money. Now, this is such a simple concept, yet so profound, it nearly knocked me out of my chair when I finally understood it. I'm going to show you exactly how the rich spend their money, and you can evaluate for yourself why they keep getting richer and the broke keep getting broker, and why the middle class remains so stressed out. Now, to get started, I'd like to review some financial terms we'll be using during this presentation. The terms that you need to be familiar with are cash flow, which means money you bring in, expenses, which means money you spend, assets. Now, this is the most confusing one. You're probably familiar with the traditional definition of an asset, which is something you own or have equity in. However, back in the 1990s, Robert Kiyosaki introduced us to a new definition of an asset in his groundbreaking Rich Dad, Poor Dad series of books. Robert taught us that an asset is something that pays you, and that's the definition we'll be using here. Liabilities is the last term, and it's defined as things that cost you money. As an example, a house is typically viewed as an asset, but can it actually be a liability? Yes, with our revised definition, anything that costs you money is a liability, not an asset. If you have a mortgage, your house is an asset to your banker because it pays him or her every month. But could a house also be considered an asset to you? Yes, in the right circumstances it could, when it pays you money. Let's say you buy a house and you rent it out, and it paid you a positive cash flow every month after all expenses. That would then be considered an asset. Now, one more time with the terms, just to be very clear before we continue. Cash flow is money you make. Expenses, that's money you spend. An asset pays you, and a liability costs you. Now let's take a look at how broke people spend their money. Now, when I say broke people, I'm not referring to the destitute. I'm speaking about that large portion of our society that lives from paycheck to paycheck and who never seem to have any money. In fact, most times there's more month left at the end of their money, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that group. On payday, broke people buy what I'm going to call stuff. Well, what's stuff? Well, that's inexpensive things that people buy that they don't really need to survive. You go into someone's house and you can't find any counter or tabletop space in the whole house because of all the stuff on it. Their house and their cars are full and cluttered with stuff. Well, where do they get all this stuff? They buy it at the flea market, at the garage sale, at the dollar store, at the craft show. So cash flow comes in, and then it goes straight out the expense column to buy stuff. You see, broke people never really educate themselves on assets and liabilities. They justify buying all of this stuff by claiming that it costs so little. But over the years, it's all they ever have. The problem is their cash flow never produced or created more cash flow. Now, please understand, I'm not undermining or taking any shots at this or any group. I just see a lot of financial difficulty out there, and it really doesn't need to be that way. Creating wealth isn't a mystery, it's a formula. The only reason someone doesn't create wealth is because they either don't know the formula or they don't apply the formula. Now let's take a look at the middle class. The middle class is the group that society mistakenly thinks are rich. They're not. Yes, they typically earn a six-figure income, and many of them appear rich, but it's what they buy with their money that keeps them prisoners of the middle class. What they typically buy are liabilities. Remember the definition of a liability? Things that cost you. By buying liabilities, the money gets pushed up and out their expense column. Liabilities are items like cars, boats, houses, airplanes, credit card debt. Now let's see just how this happens. The middle class gets a nice paycheck, let's say $10,000 for the month. They then split that down the middle and they pay their monthly expenses with half, and with the other half they make a down payment on a new car. The car costs $5,000 down, and after they add on the insurance and the maintenance, that liability now costs $1,100 new dollars every single month. A few months go by and they want a boat, then a vacation home, a Rolex watch on their credit card, a vacation on their credit card. And before you know it, their liabilities have raised their expense levels to near or above their income levels. They actually spend equal to or more than they make. Meaning that they have to go to work and make a certain amount of money every single month just to cover their liabilities. The other important issue with both broke people and the middle class is that normally all of their cash flow is dependent on their own effort, meaning that they've educated themselves to exchange their knowledge and expertise for someone's money. Also, the money they earn is usually the highest taxed form of income. Here's an example. An attorney is knowledgeable about law, so people pay him or her in exchange for that knowledge on an hourly basis. The problem here is that if the attorney isn't sharing that knowledge with a client, then the attorney isn't making any money. This causes lots of stress and anxiety in their lives, and if you ever ask them to take an afternoon off to play golf with you, well, they very rarely can because of how much money it'll cost them to take that time off. On the surface, life's pretty good. The reality is that it's a roller coaster ride. That's the middle class. Now, I know this group very well because for a great deal of my adult life, that was me. Now let's take a look at how the rich people spend their money. Rich people acquire assets. Again, an asset is something that pays you. If you want to become rich, buy assets that earn you more money. The money cycle looks like this. Acquire assets that produce cash flow, invest the profits to acquire more assets that produce more cash flow, invest those profits to acquire more assets that produce more cash flow. The rich spend their money and acquire things that produce more money. Here are a few examples of assets that produce more money. Investments are the obvious ones: stocks, bonds, real estate. Education is another asset. If you learn how to do something that produces more money for you and you actually do it, that's buying an asset. There's a great quote that goes, "If you think education is expensive, you should see how expensive stupidity is." Another example of assets you can acquire that pay you are cash-generating opportunities, especially those opportunities that can create a passive cash flow. Passive meaning that once you build it up, the money continues to flow whether you're still building it or not. Here's a small example. Let's suppose you bought a pinball machine and you put it in a barber shop, and you don't spend any of the profits. You save them until you can buy another pinball machine and put it in another barber shop. This, by the way, was Warren Buffett's first business. If you don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's one of the top 2 richest men in America. The rich are extremely eager to find those passive cash-generating opportunities because those opportunities continue to pay them month after month, year after year, long after they've stopped working the opportunity. You know, I see this happen again and again with successful entrepreneurs. They find a passive cash flow stream that they build up, and it continues to pay them month after month, year after year. They then take those profits and multiply them in another passive cash-generating opportunity, and then again in another. In conclusion, here's what I've learned over the years. You can't find these passive cash-generating opportunities unless you're open to hearing about them. Then, once you find them, you must be willing to see what fits you and then act. Now, the reason I say this is that I once answered a hokey little ad that I ended up generating 7 figures from, simply because I answered that ad and then took action. These opportunities are out there. You just need to find them. You also must be opportunistic enough that when the right situation does present itself, you don't miss it. So remember, broke people buy stuff, the middle class buy liabilities, and the rich acquire assets, preferably cash-generating opportunities that can create passive cash flow. They then take that cash flow and invest it in another asset that produces more cash flow. That's the wealth creation formula.
As you have seen, it is so clear that doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is what you do with what you have, no matter the little that you have. Again, it's one thing to say, I now see. This requires people who are very visionary, people who are very determined. But you can never be a visionary person if you are not patient. I know we are living in a world of instant generation, where people want things now. People want to be rich now. And people rush to own homes. People rush to buy cars. People rush to match with others. But the wise men say, let me do things in the right way, and I shall never follow the multitude. And that's why today I also want to welcome you to appreciate the principle of visionary men, which is all captured in the miracle of the Chinese bamboo. I have been mentioning this over for the last 10 years. Chinese bamboo, because it teaches a lesson here. People say that we ought to learn from nature. When you plant something that takes 1 week to germinate, like maize and beans, you are sure it will die within 3 months. But when you plant a tree, a hardwood tree that will take 400 years, it takes 1 year, 2 years to germinate. And that's why I'm here to introduce to you the miracle of the Chinese bamboo, which have always been emphasized again and again. That tells you, if you want to be a generational investor, thinking about your future after retirement, your future for your children and your children's children, you must be someone who is patient enough to go the extra mile and do what is not ordinary. Furthermore, as you have heard from the clip, there is what the rich do and it's what the poor do. And I want to bring the concept of housing here. Many Kenyans can appreciate that the hardest thing nowadays to achieve in this country is owning a decent home. And I want to give you the simplified version of how to own the best home in Kenya in the best way possible, using the wisdom of an investor. And as I've said again, the poor people, because of rushing to make things happen now, because of lack of a vision, they normally you consume their seed. And I'll be telling people that your salary is your seed. The profit you make from your business is your seed. The money you make as a consultant from your consultancy, it is your seed. The moment you use your seed to put up a house that is investing in a liability. And that's why you shall end up owning a single home in the wrong place, in Easterns and other places. And that's what you can achieve in a lifetime, because you've been doing negative mathematics. But what do the rich do? The rich are very visionary. Number one, they know that you should never consume your seed. All you need to do is plant your seed on a fertile ground. As you keep getting the seed, keep planting the tree. You keep planting, and all you want to have finally is to have a forest of trees. But you know, after those 7 years, after those 8 years, the trees that you planted have matured and they are giving forth the fruits. Now you use the fruits to own a house. You use the fruits to make or to do all the things that you want to do. So that even as you consume the fruits, the tree continue maturing. Even as you eat the fruits gives you more seeds and you replant again. But if you continue using your salary, your income, and you consume it, the day you retire, my friend, that is the end of your financial power. But those who are wise enough, they keep on planting. By the time they are even retiring, they have a forest of trees. So the Eagles Club is actually welcoming you. The like-minded people to tell you, guys, if you can see the future ahead, we can show you how to own the best home using the fruit concept, telling you, plant your seed today. And in 7 years' time, you shall have a forest of trees. And using your fruit, you shall own a house without struggling and never to worry again. I don't know whether you have known in Kenya, for example, you have somebody with a house, a very big house, maybe in Kayore, very expensive house in Kayore. Maybe the house costed 10 million. It is on 4 acres. But the value of that house remains 12 million. But somebody else with the same 10 million on a quarter plot in Muthaiga, in Lavington, the same house is worth 400 million. What does that mean? The two people, their only difference is mentality. The same house in different addresses. As Eagles will tell you, even as you think of owning a house, can you make sure your address is predetermined? Your address is not through as early as now. And that's why we are welcoming you to join Eagles through the philosophy of the power of many. We create homes for tomorrow. We determine the address now for tomorrow, and through the power of many, don't think in isolation about a house. Think about an estate that shall have generational value, that shall be able to create value for you and for generations to come. Watch this miracle of the Chinese bamboo and appreciate the power of patience, the power of visionary people who are out to make a difference.
I'd like to introduce you to the miracle of Chinese bamboo. It all begins with a seed and with the vision of someone willing to wait. A Chinese farmer, usually struggling to survive and provide for his family, plants the seed and sets his hope and vision on all it will provide when it towers 90 feet above his head. With a heart toward the future, he digs hole after hole, plants the seeds, then begins their care. Day after day, he carries water to the spots he has marked. And because it's human nature to want to see results, he carefully inspects the spots every day. Nothing. Knowing he has to feed his family, he plants other crops, carefully sown around the spots that contain the real hope for his future. He continues to water them every day, feeding them carefully and watching. Nothing. The other crops sprout within weeks, providing nourishment for his family within months, but provide nothing for the future. These crops will not make his dreams come true. They will simply provide for the present. The Chinese bamboo seeds contain all his hopes, his dreams. A whole year goes by. Nothing. He continues to haul water. He stares endlessly at the spots but sees nothing but barren ground. His hopes, his dreams seem so very far away. There is no evidence of life. Has the seed rotted? Has it died before it ever had a chance to grow? Another year goes by. Nothing. His neighbors, those who don't know and believe in the miracle of the Chinese bamboo, laugh at him. They mock his vision for the future. They look on with scorn as he hauls buckets of water to the spots. He begins to question himself. Will it ever grow? Is he pouring water and his life's energy into something that will reap no reward for him? Another year goes by. Nothing. 3 years of pouring water, energy, and hope into the Chinese bamboo. Nothing to show for it. Yet he's heard of the miracle of the Chinese bamboo. He's heard of the huge rewards that come to those who believe. One day he stands over the spots and he cries his frustration and fears. The spots reveal nothing, the barren ground seeming to mock him. Yet the wind whispers hope to him. He sighs and hauls yet more buckets of water. Another year goes by. Nothing. 4 years. 4 years of hoping, wishing, and diligently tending his dream. Surely the miracle will happen now. His neighbors have quit laughing. They no longer even care. Yet they talk quietly among themselves of the farmer who isn't quite right. At this point, the farmer isn't even sure. Yet he's fallen into a habit, so he continues to water the spots. He continues to feed them. It's simply what he does now, with no knowledge of reward, just the simple, now unspoken hope that life resides beneath the spots he so carefully tends. Another year passes. Nothing. 5 years. The farmer is tired of hauling buckets, tired of growing and tending so many other crops to feed his struggling family, tired of trying to keep his dream alive, tired of seeing no results day after day. He stares hopelessly at the spots. There could not possibly be life after so many years. He must have watered them wrong. He must not have fed them correctly. If only he had done things differently, there would be growth. Despair rocks his soul. 5 years he has poured into his dream, into his hope for a better future. His dream mocks him. The vision of a better life for his family melts away under harsh reality. Tears fill his eyes as he grabs for the last hope residing in his soul and slowly lifts the bucket to pour water onto his dream. After 5 years, he realizes it would be folly to give up. Then comes the morning when the whole village is jolted awake by the cries of joy from the farmer. They watch startled from their windows as he runs down the dusty road calling for his family to come see. As his family races back up the road after him, the rest of the village pours from their houses to see what has this crazy farmer so excited. They find the family clustered around the spots, talking excitedly. From the edge of the road, they can see green sprouts thrusting out from the barren ground. They seem to be growing before their very eyes. The farmer is dancing. The miracle has happened, he cries. The miracle has come. The spots become the place for everyone in the village to come, watching in amazement as the bamboo grows and grows and grows. 5 feet, 10 feet, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. In just 6 weeks, the bamboo has grown 90 feet tall. 5 years of nothing, and now this. 90 feet in 6 weeks. It is truly a miracle. The farmer stands to the side. He is aware all his dreams have come true. The harvest of the bamboo will provide all he dreamed of for his family. The bamboo that will replace what is harvested, springing forth from the deep roots forming during the last 5 years, will provide for generations to come. He also realizes the lessons he has learned are far more valuable. He learned to plant a dream. He learned to do the daily things that would make it a reality. He learned to ignore those who said it couldn't happen. He learned to push past his own fear and doubt and keep taking action. He learned to have faith when there was no reason to have faith. Now he smiles every time he walks through the village. Everyone is hauling buckets of water to their own spots, gazing over at his towering 90 feet tall bamboo. They know what can happen because of him. Because of his willingness to blaze the trail and make his dream come true. What about you? What are you willing to do to make your dreams come true? How long are you willing to work? How long are you willing to take action? How long are you willing to push past your fear and doubt? How much faith and belief are you willing to have? I hope your answer is one that will help you achieve all you dream of in life.
To sum it all, Eagles Club endeavors to make the investors we have been able to bring together to appreciate the two concepts. Number one, the difference between using your seed to do your things and the difference between waiting upon your seed to become a fruit and use the fruit to do what you want, to own a home when you know that your future is not threatened. And that's why the rich never rush, because they are sure of what they are doing. But why the normal people rush to own homes in the wrong places is because they are not sure what they are doing, neither are they sure where they are headed. Number two, I've been saying that through Eagles Club again, we shall show you how to own a home without necessarily using your money. Because your money is so little to enable you to get the value you are looking for. And that's why I've been saying that all over the world, everybody has always known that the bank is always for two people. It is a place where the poor walk every day to take their money and hide it there in the name of fixed savings account, in the name of fixed deposit account. And it is the same place the rich walk every day to borrow money, serious monies, big monies, to do their projects. Why is it that banks are very busy looking for the few people who can borrow? Banks only give money very fast and with precision to those people who are identified with the right projects. Those who are planting their seed on a fertile ground that there is assurance of multiplication. And that's what we are saying. Through TAI and Eagles Club, we shall be able to help you appreciate that I don't need to look for 50 million to own a 50 million house. I just require to convince the bank that I'll be able to get 50 million to own a 50 million home in the right soil on the right, in the right address, and that home, by the time it is finishing, because of being in the right address, it will be worth 400 million. And every bank all over the world will be very happy to be identified with those men who think right and who see it light, like an eagle, who have the vision and who believe in the power of the Chinese bamboo. Those men who are sure they are investing. Those men who are sure their money is multiplying, their money is on an upward trend. Therefore, welcome to the Thai Eagles group that are ready to join hands with like-minded Kenyans across the globe to make a difference in this society, that the world shall come and look at men who have come together through the power of many to make a difference that generations will live to celebrate. Thank you.